Respected speakers, guests, friends, I'm going to relate my story, which is more like your story. And it's a story of hard work, grit, dedication, and resilience. So this is story of Zaggle. When we started Zaggle in, year 2011, people asked us, what's the name Zaggle? So, and, we very painstakingly thought that, why had we started the company name as Zaggle? And then we realized the thought behind Zaggle was that, Indians love to haggle. And, haggle, we didn't want to. So we thought that, what is the antidote to haggle? Is Zaggle is how we started. And that's why the company name, is started Zaggle. What were we doing? Why did we start the company? And in fact, all of you would know, each one of you is here solving a problem. What was the problem, which we were trying to solve? And we were in a very niche segment, and it was basically that, employers who wanted to gift their employees were going on giving, those kind of gifts which were not really enjoyed by the employees. Employees said that, this is something which we don't want, don't want another mug, another clock, another watch like this. And that's how, our story started. And I said, what can we do about it? So the whole idea was, digitization. Even before when the word digitization had come into place, we had started the digitization in 2011 and 12. And we said, what is the best way to do it? There were like two choices. Either we choose technology or we choose distribution. Now, anybody, if you talk to in America, they will say, choose technology. Anybody you ask in India, would be in between. Say, some will say technology, some will say distribution. But distribution as a moat has never been celebrated. Okay, in India, distribution was never ever, a problem which was like tried to be solved. So we thought, we would want to go ahead and do distribution rather than technology. So how would we go distribution? We said, okay, we will come up with a card, because the infrastructure for all the machines was already present. We said we will come up with a card which can be used across the POS machines without building the infrastructure, and there we can go ahead and scale. And scaling was like, phenomenal. We said, it could be millions of cards which we would be able to produce. And I'm happy to tell you, right now we have about 65 to 70 million cards, which we have distributed, in the market. So what happened is that 2011, when we initiated the company, we said, okay, great, we will go ahead, maybe another 2 years, we will raise money. And, year 2015, we were running out of money because, while it was a prepaid card, we would put money in the card and, the corporates would pay us about 20 days, 30 days, 60 days later. And, that was becoming a problem because every time, the business was growing very, very well, doubling every year in the first 2-3 years. In 2015, we went back to our investors and requested him that, we are running out of money and we need your support. And 2015 was the year Modi ji had just come in, while he had come up with a lot of hopes and expectations, but market still, was adjusting to Modi way of, learning the, corporate style. What we realized there, is this gentleman who had been brought up in America, went to Sloan and, was running a $28 billion fund. And he was an investor in our company. He said, have you guys thought about something very unique? Can you run the business without money? You go to an investor wanting to ask him money to give you, and he comes back to you and say, what about this idea that, you run the business without money. So for us, it was a very big challenge. And, we were really, to be very honest, we were gutted because, when he invited us to Bombay, we thought, we'll come back with a check or at least a confirmation that, we would be putting in so much of money. We had no choice. Have any of you ever felt that you had no money or, you were really short of money, but you still had great business, you wanted to build business, you wanted to grow, but, you just didn't have money? Capital is India's problem. Capital is something which is always short. India is so short of capital, so credit starved, that I can't tell you that we go through it, day in, day out, day in, day out. And I am sure all of you SMEs, here, medium enterprises would be facing the same problem. And that's why, we got another speaker who is from, AU Bank, so that any of you who are facing the capital issue, you can go and reach out to him and, take the money from him. Okay, so his name is Uttam Tibrewal. He is the Deputy CEO of AU Bank. And then for us, what we happened is that, from there we realized, what was the lesson? The lesson to us was that mental capacity is always greater than the financial capacity. And that's what we realized, that, if we are mentally strong, we would be able to, take it. So we introduced a model called Opium. So Opium is not drug, it is other people's money. Okay? We realized that, we are in, man, what do we do? I have business, corporates are saying, I want more cards, I want a reward. And, here I don't have money. And, you go to any bank, bank is not willing to give you money. Bank is going to say, look at your balance sheet, see, okay, what is this, what collateral? First thing is that they want to take your house. Okay? And I told them I am living in a rented facility, though my wife owned it and I had rented it from her. But, I just told her that, okay, this is where. And, and I didn't want to. I said, look at my business. And my business is good business. I am making cash flow positive. I am making money. Why don't you give? And, nobody gave. So we said, okay, we'll change the model. The model we changed was that we started asking the corporates that you pay us in advance. You pay us in advance and we will give you the cards, because, there was a RBI circular which said that prepaid card means that it has to be prepaid. Okay? Until then, we were running the normal conventional style, and out of, Majburi ka naam Mahatma Gandhi is how we started, and we said, we are going to go and ask. And, then corporates realized that that regulation is there, and showing the regulation, trust me, I had so much of money that I could have opened a bank. There was like, and everybody, so what would happen is, the beauty of this model is like, very, very close to the bank model. Money comes in, sits in your bank, when they swipe the card, which could be 1 month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, could be 5 months later, sometimes could never be, okay, they will just forget about it. So what happens, all that money which is lying there, is being utilized in the escrow account by the bank. Okay, and we had lots and lots of money which was there, and for us, from there was no looking back. But we were at about 150 to 200 odd corporates, and we were saying, ye growth maza nahi hai. We were doing GTV of about 2,000 crores, and we were saying, yaar, 2,000 crore is not enough. We have to grow fast, and if we have to grow fast, we have to do something. As Professor said, transformation. Okay, that, through thinking. We also said, okay, we didn't have professors, but, we went and spoke to a lot of our business friends and said, what do we do? To our good luck, and, I'm looking at the time, I still have 22 minutes. Okay, so bear with me. What did we see? We realized that there are tons of ways by which we would be able to go ahead and, increase our business. So what were the ways? So sometimes, while you're thinking about ways, luck also has to favor you. The first luck which favored us was demonetization. Demonetization, came like a huge relief to us. It was like tsunami. Every company which used to settle money in cash said, I want a card. I want a digital way to settle, because all those cash which was there, I don't know where it got evaporated, but they had to be given back to the bank, and bank would issue you the, equivalent credit. So what people said, okay, so now we are going to, give our channel partners, our employees, all other folks in the prepaid cards, so give us the card. So our business just skyrocketed overnight. Then, while we were feeling very happy and we said, we need more luck, GST happened. And we said, fantastic, GST in 2017 was like, wow, was another tsunami, smaller tsunami, but tsunami, where all those underhand dealings, 2 bills, 2 books, those handwritten bills, all of that, vanished. Everything had to be above board. And while that happened, we realized that GST was, one of the very painful issues. and it was not easy for Indian business people, because Indian businesses, for them, the main thing is generating cash flow. For all SMEs, enterprises, cash flow is like important, and you go a little bit above enterprises, compliance, cash flow becomes compliance. Compliance is the most important thing. And while we grew, we continued to, grow, and 2018-19 was like a phenomenal year, and we were thinking that, okay, this is, we probably will cross close to about 3,500, 4,000 crores, in the GTV. Then, COVID happened. So when COVID happened, we thought it is end of the world. First was to save our employees. We ensured that not even a single job was lost. Contrary to anybody who would want to save capital, want to ensure that they don't give out the money and there is enough money in the bank, we went ahead and gave a bonus to all our employees, on March 22nd, 2020, saying that you go and buy whatever you want to buy, which could be your laptop, let's say if somebody is working on desktop, take laptop, take routers, take Wi-Fi, take whatever, but ensure that, you are connected and your well-being is our well-being. Okay, that is how, Zaggle approached, this COVID. COVID was horrendous. But, and we thought 6-8 months later, we thought, probably this would be the end of story and, we'll have to shut down the business. But again, mental capacity being stronger than the financial capacities is a term which I keep reminding myself, every time we get into such situation. What happened? COVID, people realized, there was this particular thing, which is that if you contact anything, okay, if you contact and anybody else contacts that, COVID would be transmitted. Okay, that was one of the issues which came in. So, we started getting a lot of calls overnight. What did people ask us? यार पैसा पड़ा हुआ है, कार्ड के अंदर है, कार्ड यूज़ नहीं कर सकते because टच से कोविड हो जाता है, हमें वर्चुअल कार्ड दे दो. Virtual card was something which we in preparation had already done, because we were looking at the digitization is happening. Overnight, can you just believe, overnight, we released 7 million virtual cards, to various corporates just in a single night. So proud of my team that the team went ahead, worked like crazy means crazy, and that is why in SME very important is your team. Your core team has to be there with you. Whenever days go bad, whenever days go good, both time you require them, because when it is good, they are the ones who will, show you down. And when it is down, they are the ones who will show you up. So what we realized in COVID was, by April 10th or so, we were doing about 100 demos a day. Everybody wanted to digitize. Everybody said, we want digitization. 100 demos is something which we would do in a year. And we were doing 100 demos a day. All my sales guys, were completely means totally booked, means totally booked. And they were saying, sir, we won't be able to handle so much of business if it comes, because implementation takes time. So we said, standardize the product and started throwing it as much as possible. What happened from there, this particular thing, what I call it as a Tridev. The Tridev which happened to us is this demonetization, then GST, and then COVID. And these three together, took us to absolutely, parabolic trajectory. And we were increasing business like nobody's business. From, 4,000 odd crores, which we were doing in GTV, we reached about 22,000 crores in year 22. And year 22 was a great year. Great year for us. We were thinking this is, 21, 22. COVID had a relapse, if you remember. COVID and then relapse of COVID happened. And we were thinking that, okay, now, next step, we'll look at it if it will come third time, fourth time, fifth time, like that. And some of you who have dealt with private equity funds and venture capitalists, 2021-22 were the days which were like, where you could get a term sheet just on the phone call. You just call them and say, I'm doing this business. You say, how much would you need? And all that money, the dry powder was so high that you just had to tell them that I need money. And for us, that was a year of courtship with private equity funds and lot of big sovereign funds. And as we had thought, a company which was generating this kind of money, generating, very, very good profits, the world's best and the biggest PE fund came in. And, from New York, a guy called Matt Harris gave us a call and he said, I just love what you guys are doing and we would like to take a significant stake. I said, okay, fantastic. It was through, somebody else, the introduction had been done. And they made us offer, we would have been valued roughly about, unicorn plus, which would be about 12,000 odd crores is what, we would have been valued. Now, my team, myself, all of us, we didn't believe that our company is worth 12,000 crores that time. So somebody said, "De raha hai paisa le lo." When he is giving, you take it. But I was not convinced because I thought it will come with lot of, those, and, we raised money 6-7 times, through our career. So we realized it will come with lot of, those hidden lines, read between the lines things. And we said, what do we do? Do we go ahead? And then, one term sheet after the other term sheet like that, about 6 term sheets came from, best of sovereign funds and everybody. And we started realizing, are we so good? And, first question is, are we so good? Then it moves to, we are good. Then, we are damn pretty good. Okay, that is how, your life moves, right? Mind plays with you. Mind says all these things. It excites you. It says, yeah. If others are saying this, and then, we thought, probably agar 12,000 crore is what, let him give, that time the rate was about 80 or so. And we said, if we are able to get a $2 billion valuation, we'll go ahead and take it. But the problem was that $2 billion was like one thing which some of them were suggesting. And, probably people would have paid also. But, I was very clear that if we go ahead and take that money, it will come with very, very strict conditions. And we didn't want to go into that. So what was the alternative? Alternative was that Zomato. Okay. And I really consider that company an absolutely fantastic company, which had gone ahead and filed for an IPO. My capital, my paid up capital at Zaggle that time was 1 lakh. And, NSE's condition was 10 crores paid up capital. And I said, at 1 lakh paid up capital, 1 lakh is like, just imagine, and rest premium. So overall, very, very little bit of very, very little money. And, we said, okay, we have to go ahead and, if we have to do an IPO, that would be, so, people, we are dreamers. What do? Dream every day. कि अच्छे दिन आएंगे, आ जाएंगे, दोबारा आएंगे. Okay, like that is how we were, dreaming, and we were thinking, let's do an IPO. So IPO was unthinkable, to be honest. So some of us laughed it out. Then, I have Mr. Sheshumurthy, he is a good company secretary. He said, Raj, there is a possibility for you to do an IPO. I didn't believe him, to be honest. He said, if Zomato can do it, we can do it. I said, why? So I was thinking his business different, my business is B2B. Who will, get us, who will give us who will give us money in IPO? And, we were still, if you really look at it, net worth, per se was still not very positive at that point of time. But eventually what happened, we passed, we were able to, Kotak became our, lead merchant banker. We were able to, figure it out and actually started doing a IPO roadshow. And IPO was beautiful, IPO was fantastic. And, while we were there, one of the reasons why we also chose IPO was that in 2023, and before 2008 to 2023, only 440 companies had gone public. Okay, so the idea is like, while lakhs of companies would have raised private equity capital, how many companies have gone ahead and raised, public money, which was just 440 companies, which is less than, about 40, less than 40 a year, okay, 35 or so a year. And then we said, okay, let's look at it. It was great. We are finally, to cut short, we were able to go ahead, do an IPO. IPO was oversubscribed by a few times. And the most beautiful part was that the day of listing, we thought it will be a very good pop. Pop, as a lot of, bankers, IPO guys will say, it will be, a lot of pop, because we thought, we are like great folks. We are fantastic, such good company. So we'll have a very decent pop. And I was like to be interviewed by CNBC, I rang the bell. bell was fantastic. It sounded very nice, this, and the price popped up and it was flat. And it was absolutely flat. And before that, they prepare you. So when you go to CNBC, don't talk to the media, don't tell this to media, don't tell this. So there is so much of coaching, which they do, which really is not required. It's like a 10,000 meter running you are going to do, like that kind of coaching they do to you, which is not really that essential. I removed, whatever hat I was wearing. I said, boss, now, this is ground reality which is coming in. And when it was like absolutely flat and it went down, I thought, what's happening? So, vagaries of stock market really hit me. I said, yeah, how is it possible that the stock is not going up and market is up? Stock is not going up. And then second day, third day, fourth day, it started slowly recovering. We saw a lot of investors picking up, huge amount of, stock, and it went up from where it was in 1.5 years, it went up by 4x. And maybe actually, roughly about 4x. And we thought, that reaching 4x was also an issue. Why is he reaching, every day it is going up. Why is it going up? And, now it has halved from there. That is a problem. Why is it halved from, there? So, everything is a questionable. Everything is a, little bit, challenge for us. But, the ability to do the first company from Hyderabad, fintech company from Hyderabad, fintech company, other than Paytm was, the other one which, and every time we will go and say that we want to do IPO, Paytm dekha hai, Zomato dekha hai, kya price hai? You look at it and you are saying, no, we'll not be able to, no, this new age companies, we don't believe in it. There is flavors, right? Sometimes we like this flavor, sometimes we like the other flavor. So a lot of those issues, were in my journey. So I am telling you very honestly, I went like this. My life, was a sine curve, which meant that I'm still alive. But it was very, very tough, morning, evening, night, pitching to investors, talking to them, telling them your story, they nod. We will come out of that meeting, and Umesh ji, it would happen, right, कि बहुत बार हमें लगेगा कि भाई अब ये पैसा आने वाला है, this is opening, this is happening, and then, you will very soon hear a regret. They will not say no, but they will typically tell you that, we'll look at it after a month or so, which means basically, go to hell. Okay, so that is how typically is what it is. And then, it was a very great period for us that from IPO, when we went to IPO, it was about 300 odd crores was our revenue. From 300 odd crores, today we are roughly in the range of about 1800 crores. So, it has gone up by 6 times, maybe 5.5 odd times. It has gone up in 3 years, but, stock price is halved. So really don't know that, how life is. But, one thing which was very, very essential, and the lesson learned there was that slow success builds character and fast success builds ego. That was my thought. That is what I realized, that, there is, and as you go up, as you see, as you progress, one of the very, very beautiful things you will understand is that the price of progress is pain. Okay, and that's a harsh reality. If you think that you're progressing and you're going to grow, you're going to become bigger, your life is going to, become easy, forget it, my friends. So while this is scale me concept, okay, while this is scale me, and tell you, all of us have to scale, because what pain I have gone through, I want you guys to go through. I want to ensure that each one of you, and this is a phenomenal concept, India is really at a place where one time America was. Okay, today America, I don't know, every other day, the kind of news which flows, but, the demographic capital which we have, the demography, overall, if you look at English-speaking people, the people who are able to converse well, is fantastic. But, also think we are 140 crores, which is 1.4 billion people. Okay, our GDP, of the total GDP of the world, let's say, is 100 trillion. We are at 4 trillion. 4%, but 20% of the population. And then you are hit by something called AI. Already we are with 140 billion population, okay? So 140 crores population, which is 1.4 billion. So we have to think, so you are the guys who have to give jobs. Those jobs would become, the underlying fundamental factor for India's growth is the jobs created by SMEs. And while SMEs are also subject matter experts, but they are the small and medium enterprises who will tomorrow shine. 30% of the overall production is SME. If you look at 67.7 million MSMEs in India, who is producing, who is employing so many people? It is you. And I have to really congratulate Sanjay for coming up with such a phenomenal concept called Scale Me. Okay, where all you entrepreneurs coming in, scaling. When you scale, you have to hire more people. When you hire more people, more jobs, more capital, more consumption. Professor said 10 Nike shoes. I'm saying have all different brands, but have 20. Okay, not just the same brand, but have that much so that it will give you that ability and to feel that you have built something of essence. One thing from my story, I'll tell you. When I see you get listed in that Hurun's list and they say, okay, you are like so many thousand crores, it doesn't give that satisfaction. When I was not there, I wanted to be there, to be very candid with you. But after being there, it doesn't give me that satisfaction. To build something and building that to be used by people and saying this is a well-made product or a good product is the highest satisfaction, which, right? And SMEs, in my opinion, are the best folks. Nobody can stop you today. It is totally democratized. Information is with you. You can do what nobody else can do. And it is in your hands that, India has to progress. If India has to progress, SME has to progress. If SME progresses, Sanjay also progresses. Thank you so much. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartupTV.